So the bubonic plague, or Black Death as it's sometimes known, was a pretty fucking big deal in the late Middle Ages. In terms of how the disease first spread to humans, this had a lot to do with the expansion of urban centers and high-density housing, which had caused essentially a massive rat problem through a lot of Europe since, as you can probably imagine, given that it was a time when people were probably bathing like at most once a week, waste management systems of these urban centers in the late Middle Ages were not enormously sophisticated. So rats were the initial carriers of the disease, and then it was actually the fleas on the rats that then transmitted that disease to human hosts after the rats had died. And the symptoms included black sores, which first erupted around the flea bites. Then large swollen protrusions would emerge around the lymph nodes, which, if you don't know, are located around the head, neck, armpits, and groin. These were called buboes. One Italian observer of the time noted that these could be as big as an apple. And then eventually these buboes would release a toxin into the blood that caused neurological damage and later death. The entire process from first contracting the disease to death could take as little as a few hours and as much as a few days. It was estimated that during this era, the bubonic plague had a mortality rate of 60 to 100%. So imagine that, right? People around you would literally be dropping like flies, sometimes going from perfect or at least relatively good health to completely dead in a matter of hours. It would have been an absolutely fucking terrible time to be alive. In terms of the spread of the disease, this particular outbreak of the plague, which lasted a total of 4 years, affected not only most of Europe, but also parts of North Africa, notably in the Ottoman Empire, and it's estimated to have wiped out at least a quarter of the European population and between 75 million to 200 million people globally. There would be subsequent outbreaks of bubonic plague, but none would be quite so catastrophic as this initial pandemic. So in this first outbreak, some of the earliest and hardest hit areas were the city-states that acted as the trade epicenters of Europe.